Tell me you don't raid without telling me you don't raid. Well, now you can quite easily actually, and corporate wants you to tell me the difference between these two weapons. The free to play forbearance is here, and so if you don't raid or you raid so much that your fingers bleed, then this bargain basement version of this ad clearing raid monster is just for you. This Arc Energy Waveframe Grenade Launcher is absolutely meta, and so it's time to get your sweaty little mitts on it. If you don't know what all the fuss is all about, well, it's time to around and find out with Into the Light, and to be honest, it has multiple God Rolls worth chasing. Bungie cooked with this one way back when with the Witch Queen, and this new Brave Arsenal version has something special on its own too, and will do bits into the final shape and beyond, so it's time to find out why. So it'd be rude to not start off with the original Forbearance and find out why that one was so special. And to be honest, the main reason is because of the absolute God Roll that everyone has been using, the combination of Ambitious Assassin along with Chain Reaction. Now this thing just is absolutely mental because multi-kills are going to allow you to overflow the magazine pretty much near on consistently. With the addition of Chain Reaction, it just is absolutely immense at clearing enemies, and it's the main reason why it's been used by a ton of people since its introduction way back in the Witch Queen. The OG Forbearance can be only gotten from the Vow of the Disciple raid, and thanks to that it can also be crafted. And honestly, with this weapon ad clearing, you're always basically going to have 2 rounds in the magazine because you're going to be activating Ambitious Assassin just thanks to the insane amount of ads that you can kill with Chain Reaction. Now to be honest, is there any other good rolls on the original Forbearance? I wouldn't know because no one literally ever talks about it, but obviously the main thing that was going for that one was Soul Drinker, which is the origin trait, which would essentially restore HP based on the amount of hits before reloading. And because of the nature of Forbearance and how it's used, you basically just had a free hit of Devour every single time on reloading the weapon. What does this all mean with the Brave Forbearance with Into the Light, and what should you be looking for? Well, literally straight out of the gate, you can go for the God Roll of Ambitious Assassin with Chain Reaction. It's going to do exactly the same thing that the OG Forbearance does, except obviously this one is free to play, it's not gate kept behind a raid, and you can just get this one as you wish by playing the Onslaught playlist. Now clearly that is going to be the role that a ton of people are going to be wanting, and for good reason. I mean, if you haven't been into the raid, or you just don't have time, or you haven't raided for whatever reason, or you weren't lucky enough to get the God Roll and you haven't been able to get any of the red patterns, then this Forbearance is going to do absolutely everything the original Forbearance can do, and I think this is the main reason why that Bungie have put this one into the Brave Arsenal loophole. Now if that's all you're going to go for with this weapon, then I'm not going to criticise you, but to be fair, this Forbearance does have a bit more going for it in terms of build crafting viability for weapons, and obviously if you do manage to get one of the shiny versions of the Brave Arsenal Forbearance, then you've got potential for multiple God Rolls with this weapon. And one of the main ones that stands out to me is one that has just some absolutely mad synergy with the origin trait. Now the origin trait, Indomitability, is basically going to give you 5% grenade ability energy on light subclass final blows, and it's going to give you 5% melee ability energy on dark subclass final blows. Now the OG Forbearance only had one of these perks, and obviously it didn't have the top tier origin trait that really leans into a lot of builds with Indomitability. And the next main combo that stood out to me in terms of perks is Demolitionist along with Wellspring. Now Demolitionist gives you 10% grenade ability energy on kills with this weapon, and with it being a wave frame, that's going to give you a ton of grenade energy, and if you're focusing into any grenade focused builds, then it really is going to absolutely max out your grenade ability regen rate. Now obviously as well, you can use it to reload the weapon, so you can be firing back to back to back if you're throwing grenades, but that's not the reason why you're going to want Demolitionist. You're going to want it just to make that grenade uptime to the maximum, and then if that wasn't enough, then you can also pair that with Wellspring in the final column, which is going to grant you 8% ability energy, which is split equally amongst all uncharged abilities. So if you have no grenade energy and you've got maxed out class ability and you've got maxed out melee energy, then essentially you're going to be getting 10% grenade energy from Demolitionist, 8% from Wellspring, and then another 5% from the origin trait, and so you're essentially going to be getting nearly 25% of grenade energy back on just one final blow with this version of the Forbearance. And then if you're leaning into any other builds and grenade energy regen through, then it really does go hard. But I think if you don't want to double down with that wellspring in that final column, then we've got a ton of damage boosting perks which I think are really going to help elevate this Forbearance to the next level. We've got bait and switch, which is now a reduced 30% damage increase, but is still absolutely god tier. Obviously you need to set that one up with some weapon hits from your kinetic and your heavy weapon of choice. Got golden Tricorn, which is going to give you a 15% damage boost for 7 seconds, and then if you get a matching grenade or powered melee kill within that buff time, you're going to get an increased 50% damage boost for 10 seconds. Now this one unfortunately is one of them perks that doesn't really get much love, and it's because of just the insane amount of ability uptime that you need to get that 50% damage buff rolling. But if you're pairing it with Demolitionist on this waveframe grenade launcher, then potentially you may get some kills quick enough to keep that golden Tricorn maxed out at that 50% damage boost, so definitely one that you may want to consider. But otherwise you've got one for all, which is also going to give you a 35% damage increase for 10 seconds on hitting 3 separate enemies. Again, the only major downside with this one is that it can't be refreshed, so once you do activate it, you've got to wait that whole 10 seconds before reactivating it again, so there can be a slight little bit of downtime, but that 35% increased damage is definitely nothing to be sniffed at. Also, you've got the Rampage perk, which, you know, it is what it is, and at a 3 time stack after kills with this weapon, you're going to be getting that 33% damage boost. However, if you did like the sound of golden Tricorn, then to be fair, I think you might even like the sound of desperate measures. Now this new perk from Into the Light is definitely going under the radar. It's definitely slept on a ton of weapons, and the main thing with this one is that it can be activated while stored, and so with the rest of the Brave Arsenal weapons, obviously you can use desperate measures on all of them, and essentially you can just flick between each one and have desperate measures pretty much with infinite uptime. Obviously at a base level you're going to get 10% increased damage for 7 seconds, but then on either a grenade or melee kill you're going to get boosted 20% increase for 7 seconds, and then if you get another grenade or melee final blow, then that's going to be boosted up to 30%, and this can be indefinitely topped up as well on further kills with the weapon or subsequent grenade or melee final blows, and so it can have a really good uptime. The only thing with this is the 7 seconds isn't really long, so unless you're absolutely slaying out with these weapons, then desperate measures may not be the one for you. But I think, to be fair, it's getting a bit of a rough end of the stick and is definitely a perk that I think you probably should be chasing. As for perks in the other 2 columns, then there's not really too much to really go from. Quick launch is also a good choice. Smart drift control, I mean there really isn't too many bad options on this one. Try and get anything that can boost any of the other stats and you're really going to be off to the races. And likewise in the other column, you're probably going to want to look at getting high velocity rounds, which is going to just help you with that increased reload speed. But these waveframes, and especially Forbearance, are just absolute stat monsters. Every stat is basically maxed out, and it's why this weapon and these weapons are just so sought after. And if you haven't managed to get hold of a Forbearance yet up until now, then now is your time with Into the Light and try and grab yourself a shiny roll. Ultimately, if I'm going to be farming one and I want a perfect God roll in them final 2 columns on a shiny weapon, I'm going to be looking for one with Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction, and then Demolitionist and probably Desperate Measures, to be honest with you. All in all, it's just an excellent feeling weapon, and if you've been maybe taking a break from Destiny, it's time to get on and get yourself a Forbearance. I hope you enjoyed this God Roll breakdown of literally probably the most iconic weapon in Destiny 2 in recent times. Your ongoing support is greatly appreciated. The love on the channel recently, absolutely massive. I do notice everybody and I try to reply to everyone down in the comments, so thank you very much for showing me all your support. If you've been here before, please consider subscribing or even joining our fellow members to get some bonus goodies to show off in the comments. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one, which you can click right here.